Hello! For the milestone 3 and 4 of the practical exam of distributed systems, me and my colleague we decided to create a Google Home RESTful web service to control the Lego robot. So for our proposal we needed a Google Home and we created a RESTful web service using the Spring Boot framework, and we also use a very interesting tool, the IFTTT, that gives us the possibility to create applets which communicate, interact the IoT devices and allowing them to make web requests to a web services. So what is REST? REST means representational state transfer and is an architectural style that specifies constraints such as the uniform interface that, if applied to a web service, induce desirable properties such as performance, scalability, and modifiability that enable services to work best on the web. In the REST architectural style, data and functionality are considered resources and are accessed using Uniform Resource Identifiers, the URIs, typically links on the web. The resources are acted upon by using a set of simple, well-defined operations. The REST architectural style and constrains an architecture to a client-server architecture and is designed to use a stateless communication protocol, typically the HTTP. In the REST architecture style, clients and servers exchange representations of resources by using a standardized interface protocol. Resources are manipulated using a fixed set of 4 create, read, update, delete operations: the get, post, put, and delete. Put creates a new resource, which can be then deleted by using delete. Get retrieves the current state of a resource in some representation. Post transfers a new state onto a resource. So this is our architecture for the milestone 1 and 2. And for the milestone 3 and 4, we had to make a little change. So we had to remove the GUI component and we inserted a new component, the controller component, that will deploy our Spring application, our web service, our RESTful web service. So our service will be started when the Google Home receives a new voice control, for example, move vertical 100, and that will trigger automatically a web hook. So what is the web hook? Is a applet that allows us to create web requests, and then that web requests will be directly done to our Spring web service that we created. After that, our Spring web service will receive the control, will make an interpretation of the HTTP response and will give an order depending to the control that it received. If it's horizontal, vertical, or grab and release, will make a direct control to the robot. So for this, we go to the IFTTT website so we can create our first applet. We go to My Applets and we create our new applet. So IFTTT means that we can create the following action. So if this trigger happens, that we will configure now in the Google Assistant, we want to choose a trigger, and when we say a phrase with a number, that it's our case, like vertical 50 or horizontal 85, we create a command, for example horizontal, and then we expect an input number and we create a trigger. And if this trigger happens, a web request is made to, depending on our Spring configuration, we can do, for example, localhost in the port 80 slash horizontal, and then after the point we insert a variable that we want to receive by the trigger of the Google Assistant. So we want to make a get method and we create an action. So finish, and we have our first applet created. Spring Boot is a powerful framework. So when we trigger an action without Google Home as we configured before, we automatically be doing an HTTP request, and here with the Spring framework we can make an interpretation of the HTTP request that we made to the horizontal persons. So we can get the exact person that it was passed by voice that created the trigger, and then interpret the value, get the value, and pass it so we can execute the movement on the robot.
Hey Google, vertical 100.
I will move the robot vertically to 100.
Hey Google, horizontal 80.
I will move the robot horizontally to 80.
Hey Google, vertical 40.
I will move the robot vertically to 40.